Divine, and I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this episode so far, and also too thank you for supporting my small podcast. I've been having a lot of fun recently doing the interviews that I've been doing. I feel like I'm getting better at it and kind of getting a gist of like how to ask questions and how to have a better conversation with the creatives that I've been talking to. But with this week, I'm very excited to talk to the person that I did, and this artist is actually named Young Godblow. Young Godblow actually found me on Instagram and DM'd me and just pretty much said like, hey man, like, you looking to do an interview, listen to some of his music? And I was like, this guy's fire. So I was like, yeah, for sure. And we ended up doing it this week. So with that all being said, Young Godblow is a artist from New York, and he makes awesome music. He has like two sides to him, like a very chill side, like rap music, and then also too makes like hardcore trap music. And honestly, a lot of his music is awesome, and he's only been doing it for about like 3 years. So I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this conversation. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you later. Welcome back to the Thumbs Up Podcast. My name is Kyle Divine. I am your host. And this week, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. He found me somehow, don't know how, but I'm really happy he did. He reached out to me and we got talking. But today, in this week's episode, we are talking to Young Godblow. How are we doing today?
Yo. We doing swell today.
Awesome, man.
Super fabulous.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, my fan base doesn't know too much about you probably right now, but I was just wondering if you could give us a little introduction.
Yeah, it's always funny when I get this question. I feel like it's so hard because, like, how can I describe myself to someone who doesn't know who I am?
Yeah.
In a general sense, I guess I'm just that one guy who's like super weird, but he just makes it work.
Hey,
like,
hell yeah.
Right? Like I'm weird in the sense that I have a lot of like geeky interests, and I'm kind of a cornball, but at the same time like really cool, and like I can like blend everything together and like just become an enigma of a person. So I guess that's as much as I can tell you.
So what I was gonna say, so what I'm hearing is you're truly an original person. Is that what you're telling me?
I take pride in my originality, so yes.
All right, love to hear it. All right, so Young Godblow is a wonderful artist, I believe from New York. He makes rap music. And honestly, this dude, when he hit me up about doing an interview, I was like, I'll give him a shot. I'll see what his music's about. And honestly, I was very surprised. The vibe I got from like looking at your pictures and stuff like that was not originally what I would like thought. And then honestly, I heard your song, The Moon, like we just talked about earlier before we started recording. And I was like, you know what? This dude is somebody I want to talk to. He's all over the place, but in the best way possible. So can you like just tell me a little bit about like you growing up in New York and how that kind of like influenced you today?
It's funny, right? I feel like New York influenced my persona a bit, but not too much, because a lot of the stuff that I liked growing up, I would get teased about because of where I lived,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But at the same time, I felt like that helped me get like a hardened shell, but like not in a like I'm an introvert type of way, but more so like, okay, I like what I like, and since I'm from New York, I'm gonna like it regardless. And if you have a problem, then I don't care. You know, you could go somewhere with that. So in terms of influence, I guess I more so used what New York was about and used it to help further advance the type of person I am. Like, if you hear my music, it doesn't sound like anything coming out of New York right now.
No, yeah, 100%.
It's my interests mixed with the kind of New York sound that you would probably hear, like all my references in my songs, they have to do with like, I don't know, like anime or like, pop culture in the sense of comics and superheroes and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I deliver it in a way that's like intense that you can only find from like New York rappers.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's like, in a way, it's like the opposite of influence, but it still put a huge mark on the type of person that I am.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I mean, as much as everybody wants to say, like, obviously New York has its own culture with like rap music and all that kind of stuff, and especially like the drill scene coming out of it right now.
Definitely.
But it's really cool too to see like smaller artists coming out of there that don't have that exact sound, because I almost feel like when you get into places like you look at Atlanta you think of like Young Thug, Future, like all those guys, and you think of that sound.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'll like see like random other guys making like a whole different sound while they're there. And that's like one of my favorite. And usually those are the artists that I gravitate towards. And I can definitely see that with you. You kind of have that grittiness in your music where it is New York, but also too, you're talking about the shit that like not many New York rappers are talking about right now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think that's awesome, man. It was great listening to all that shit and like getting to know you almost like through your music and your interest. Like I think that's like very evident when you listen to your music. You're like, I know this dude. Like this dude used to be my best friend in high school, and I live out in like Northeast Ohio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But no, it's awesome to see that, especially with like an up and coming artist that you are. And then going off of that, I mean, like, did you like growing up in anything like that? Did you see like a music scene or anything like that? Like, are kids around you doing music and stuff?
You know, I didn't see anything like regarding music in terms of like the people around me till like late middle school, early high school. But growing up, I always felt like I wanted to be someone special, you know?
Yeah.
Like those car ride trips you have with your parents and you're like peering out the window and like a song is playing in the car and like you're just imagining yourself in a music video. Like that's the type of person that I wanted to be. I was like, wow, I want to be someone that like I want to be the person I envision, and the person I envision was someone with a lot of popularity that just stands out in society, you know? I didn't like I wanted to be successful, yes, but I didn't want to be successful and like work a 9 to 5. I felt like that was too boring, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like music was just like there for me, and um it really came like strong when I met those people in middle school and high school,
Yeah.
because it would be like lunchroom freestyle ciphers, you know, like, you know, battle rapping and all that. Huge, right? So I was like, yeah, this is fun, you know, and like no one expected me to be the type of person to like it. So like when we would get into those like lunchroom rap battles and I'd come out and I'd spit like a hot bar, they'll be like, yo, who is this kid? Yo, where did this come from?
Yeah.
So it's like that mixed with the fact that I already wanted to be someone like special. It like, you know, it helped me want to pursue music more. And like I felt like every year going up until the point that I actually started in music, the interest grew more and more. And like I kept on like I put my toe in, you know, I put my whole foot in, and then I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna just jump in and try this music thing. And it's working out, you
Dude,
know?
hell yeah. No,
Yeah.
seriously. I was gonna say because definitely like seeing like I scrolled all the way down on your SoundCloud,
Mm-hmm.
like seeing definitely like the growth you had. I was gonna say because if you go on your Spotify, your all your music that you have isn't on there. But if you go on SoundCloud, this dude's got records on there. Like I mean,
Yeah.
scroll for 3 years, man, you'll find some good stuff. But I was definitely gonna say like you've definitely seen number one the change in how you make music, but also to like just like the growth, the numbers, like all that kind of stuff over
Yeah.
time. And as much as people like to say, yes, there's a lot of artists that blow up within 24 hours. Okay, that's fine. But like you doing this seriously for 3 years, it's, I mean, like you've had a good growth, honestly. Like seeing that, especially from a guy that like just found out about you, it's awesome to watch that happen. Can you tell me like a little more about that?
Yeah, I've never been the type of person to feel discouraged about something and then want to back away, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this seriously. And you know, I've had my fair share of people who doubted me, but I never let that get to me. I knew starting that I was not the best. You know, I feel like that's a huge thing going into like any creative realm. You have to, you know, remind yourself that you're stepping into something that's brand new where people are making millions off of. Like talent is like, you know, they have no ceiling. Like you can't expect to come right off the bat, no experience, and do what they do. No. So like I felt like that was something that kept me grounded. Like it helped me you know, just continue going like, okay, this didn't work, but eventually it's gonna work. And I'm just gonna keep on growing. And it's funny, like I surprised myself, and this is what actually pushes me every day. When I listen to my older music, I'm like, wow, I'm way better now than I was then, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because like that like sense of like realization just happens between songs I drop. So for example, the most recent song I dropped prior to the song I just dropped a few days ago, Scores. I dropped it in October of last year, and after I dropped it, I was already recording scores, and I was like, wow, this song is better than that other song already. And I was
Yeah.
like, I surprised myself, and that's how I know that if I keep on going, I'm going to keep on getting better, and I'm eventually going to hit the right ears, and I'm going to just take off.
Yeah, 100%, man. I was gonna say, like, that's the best attitude I've ever heard. I have not literally, I'm being serious. Like, the amount of artists that I've talked to and stuff like that, like, way even before this podcast and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like, I've never once heard them go, I just kept telling myself, I'm not gonna be the best at first. Like, a lot of them are like, yeah, I just started making it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, whatever it may be. But that's really good advice, though, to like anybody that wants to start making music. Just know that, like, off rip, you're not going to be the best in the world off like your first song. Like, it's probably going to be pretty bad, but it's practice. You know what I mean? Like, you got
Exactly,
to keep making
exactly.
it. But no,
That's
that's
exactly what it
awesome.
is.
That's awesome, man. So, like, tell me a little bit about the story of like the come up almost. Like, how did you like get into this? Like, how did you
Mm-hmm.
like what like made you think to yourself, like, what, today I'm gonna make music, and like that story behind it, I guess.
All right, it's a simple story.
Okay.
After like high school, like it's crazy, right? Like between middle school and high school, I had a huge interest, but I didn't start till after I graduated high school. And I think a part of that has to do with the fact that, even though you want to pursue something, you're still afraid that people are going to judge and like not really support what you want to do.
Mhm.
So like after high school, I didn't even go straight to college. I just went to working so I can like save money for recording equipment and stuff like that to get myself settled in. What really sparked like, okay, I'm gonna make music is, even though now looking back, it was kind of like ass, but a lot of like I put up some freestyles on like my socials, and people liked it, and I was like, well, if people like this, then what if I try actually making a song? And that's when I was like, okay, I saved the money up, got my own recording equipment, had some help from some old friends. And it's funny because my very first song was recorded in this room.
Yeah.
And the most recent song I released was recorded in this room. It's just showing the growth of like what everything that's happened. So yeah, I was still afraid because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put an actual song out there. It's not like a freestyle video where people can like just like and then forget about it later. There's gonna be a song that's gonna stay there. So I was still skeptical. So my first song, In My Granny Panties, just the title alone, you could tell that it's just it wasn't serious, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna spit serious bars on this song, but I'm gonna make it as goofy as possible.
Oh
So if
yeah.
people don't like it, I'll be like, it was a joke, it was just a meme song,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But then people actually loved it. And I was
Mhm.
like, wow, okay. And then like, I don't know, it's been a while since I checked it, but I know like at the time it netted like 10,000 streams. And I was like, for a first song,
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
and like it's fun. I got my humble beginnings from like jokes and memes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And I was like, you know what, people like this, I'm actually going to try to spit serious bars. And
Mhm.
then that's when I got into like, making like serious music that I'm like proud of.
Yeah, 100%, man. I was gonna say, I mean, like, with you in like late middle school, early, high school and stuff like that, and going through those years, like, what music did you gravitate towards? Like, what artist, like, what sound almost did you gravitate towards almost?
My interests have changed. Well, I wouldn't say haven't changed that much. I feel like the variety has widened, but
Mhm.
my main favorite artist always stayed the same. Um, Before middle school, and it's funny because this goes hand in hand with like a heartbreak I had back in
Yeah.
middle school.
Hmm.
Before middle school, I was just listening to music. I wasn't really hearing it. So like I would listen to what's mainstream on the radio, but like other than that, like I didn't like take time out of my day to go listen to artists.
Hmm.
I went through a bad breakup, and one of my friends were like, you listen to all these mainstream artists that put you in your bag, like Drake and like Bryson Tiller, like at the time, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He was like, listen to someone hard, like I don't know, like Tyler the Creator or something, right? And I was like, and this was when it was in his like Goblin days, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was like, doesn't he only have like one song? Because I was super uncultured, right?
Oh yeah,
Like I thought Yonkers was his only song, and like it sparked so much controversy. I'm like, do I even want to listen to this guy? But then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna listen. I searched up his music, and the first song I heard other than Yonkers was Tamale, right? And I was like, yo, this slaps. Like this is like mad, like jokey, but it go hard.
Hmm.
So I was like, I just went down a rabbit hole listening to his music, and it went from like lit track to lit track to lit track until like I hit one of those tracks that just put me in my feelings, and it was I fucking hate you, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm listening to it, I'm like, every single word this man is saying right now is resonating with me at a spiritual like frequency.
You were feeling that connection, man.
Exactly. And then from then on, like Tyler has been my favorite artist. And like it's crazy because just like how I'm growing as an artist and a person, his music has grown too. And it's like he went from like, saying fuck the world and like I like fuck everything. I just want to have fun and like cause mayhem to like now being like, wow, like you're like the cool uncle now, like you're
Yeah.
making all of these like vibrant like sounds and stuff. And like I know that's something he wanted to do for a while because he's always been a creative mind.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him actually put it into fruition and like dominate the game like that,
Oh
I was
yeah.
like, wow, okay. Like he will always say as my favorite artist because of that. And then naturally, like Odd Future just fell in, and then like Earl Sweatshirt came, Frank Ocean, and those influenced like my taste a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because Earl at the time, well, it's been a while since I listened to Earl, I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
at the time where it was still Odd Future and they were all together and doing stuff, and Doris came out. I feel like Doris is my most played album for a single artist ever because all of those songs are lyrical masterpieces.
Yeah.
And then with Frank Ocean, he's just a god amongst men.
Hey, that's facts.
Yeah.
That is facts.
Yeah.
No, 100%, man. And
Over
like,
time it's changed.
yeah.
But yeah, like those stick out. Like my major influences now in terms of like what I like to listen to that sometimes like influence my personal sound is Toby Lou and Ski Master Slump God.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I hearing those, it's funny. The music video for Catch Me Outside came out in 2018, and that's when I started taking music serious. And I was like, wow, this is so lit. And he has,
Yeah.
he had anime references and all that stuff.
Oh
So I was
yeah.
like, yo, this is the direction I want to go to. So, well, none of the artists know that they influenced me, but without him knowing, he did a huge influence on my sound.
No, and that's the coolest thing is like that scene of like rappers that came up around that time. They were talking about anime and like Japanese culture and like all that kind of stuff, and like bringing light to like nerds. Like nerds can like rap music. Like it's cool. Like
Yes.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Like
It's cool to be a nerd now. Like
yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, like it's cool to be like quirky and like things that people usually didn't like or like weird,
yeah. Everybody had like a hidden like agenda and like didn't actually watch anime, but they watched it
Exactly.
all the time. And stuff like
Exactly. Exactly.
No, I agree completely, man. And it's like crazy watching that, like, and how like rappers, like especially rappers, I think, like brought that like to light in the mainstream. Like when Kanye and Kim said that they list or watch anime and stuff, everyone's like, "Oh, I gotta watch it now." Cowboy Bebop, I'm watching it. I swear to God, I'm watching it now. And like that's what happened. And I think that's really cool that that was like a trigger, like almost, and being like, damn, I could actually like talk about the shit I like. That's crazy. All right, cool. I'm down.
Yep.
No, that's awesome, bro. I'm really happy to hear about that. And I was gonna say, like, what was like the hardest thing for you when you were like first starting to make music? Do you think?
The hardest thing, I would say, all right, I'm gonna take a hard thing from like actually making music to like something hard outside of making music.
Mhm.
Outside of music, I feel like the hardest thing was finding a way to make great quality sounds. So like, I started off, my music didn't sound great, but that's because I had like a shitty ass like $20 microphone and I just had it in the corner of my room. So I was like, I need to really invest in my sound if I want to sound the best. So I spent like hundreds on hundreds of dollars on like professional studios. And like that was hard because working I was working at 1.2 jobs to like support this while also supporting myself because I'm starting to be adult at the time, so I have to like pay my own bills and stuff. So like it was hard because I want to keep on supporting my dream, but at the same time I don't want to be oblivious to like real life stuff that I need to take care of.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something that was hard, in terms of outside music. um in music, I feel like the hardest thing for me was like sticking, like I wouldn't say sticking to a sound in the sense of like having one sound and like being really good with it, but like I tried so hard to sound like a lot of people starting. because when you started making music, that's all you have for reference.
Mhm.
Like okay, this rapper sounds like this, so I'm gonna like rap like him, or have my cadence and delivery be the same. And I feel like that was one of the harder things, because all of my earlier music had like super auto tune,
Mhm.
and looking back, it was cringe, because I was like, I felt like at the time that's what worked, and I tried to make it work, and I realized now like I have to work at my own pace in order to make really good music.
Oh yeah, and I think that's like the crazy thing too, is because we hear about like all these stories of like how Juice World has like 4 million songs just sitting, or like whoever it may
Yeah.
be, and they're making like 40 songs a session and like all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff, where like puts like artists in their head and they're like, should I be making 10 songs a day, like, and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
where like that you have to be a rare breed to
Hmm.
make that many songs, number one, in a session or just in a day in general.
Exactly.
Like everybody's on their own pace, and I think that's a really good tip, or like almost advice, like to give anybody that wants to start making music, is like, you don't have to make 10 songs a day, you don't have to make 10 songs a month or a year, like
Yeah.
whatever works for you, honestly.
Where like we have artists that have not dropped in years,
Oh yeah, man.
right? And that's because they're perfecting their craft. That's the most important thing. You don't want to put out like you always want to put quality over quantity. You don't want to
Oh
put
yeah,
out like subpar stuff.
like as much as everybody wants to, they want to listen to Frank Ocean, like a new song from
Hmm.
Frank Ocean every day, but like that dude waits for a reason, like he
Yeah.
knows we all want it, so like why would he give it to us right now?
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the coolest things about music too, is like you can just like be on your own pace. Like you can do whatever you want. As soon as you like kind of blow up, you can literally do whatever you want.
Yes, sir.
It's awesome to see. But honestly, looking at your Instagram, like all that kind of stuff, you see a lot of like advertising and like, logos and stuff like that of Monarchy Records. Do you want to go in a little bit about that as well?
Oh yeah, Monarchy Records. So little background information before I get into actual Monarchy. I was a part of a group before. I won't disclose the
Okay.
name because we're not even gonna talk about that. But it's important to what Monarchy is, because like it shows like a kind of growth within me as a person.
Mhm.
So I worked with this group, and they were talented, but none of them had real like ambition and drive to make it work.
Yeah.
So at times it felt like I was doing 100% of everything myself, in terms of promotion, booking time, scheduling stuff. And that was the problem. Like a lot of artists don't realize that music, or being successful in the music industry, is more than just making music.
Oh yeah.
Like making music is probably only 10% of what you have to actually do. Like the other 90% is after the song's already made. All the stuff you gotta, do, like, promoting. Like for example, here, getting an interview to like,
Yeah.
promote a song even further, like all that stuff. And like that group just wasn't really with it. Before Monarchy became Monarchy, I was working with, a producer called DJ Eric Cool. He was the first producer I was working with, like, in terms of like seriousness. Like we just worked, day in and day out. And he found these artists from Texas, Kem Cooley and Dame. And he sent me their music, and their music was amazing. And I was like, all right, cool. So he wanted us to work on the track together. And at first I was like reluctant, because I didn't want to work with people after what happened with the last group.
Yeah, of course.
But I was like, you know what? I'll make it work. So he made a beat. He sent it to Dame. Dame sent it back probably like the next day. And at the time, I was working as like a stalker in like Walgreens and stuff, right? So he sent like the demo back, and the song sounded spectacular. And
Yeah.
that's our song "Take Me Back" right now, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So he sent back his hook, and I was like, wow, instantly right there when I was on the floor working, I was writing to the song, because that's how much inspiration sparked within me. After we finished the song and we dropped it, it got so much great feedback that we were like, let's make some more music. So we ended up making a whole EP, which is what I'm wearing this sweater right now, Concrete Butterflies, right? And then from there, we were like, yo, let's just be like a collective type of thing. And like at first I didn't want to do it, but like now I'm like super confident, because these dudes are serious about their work. They're like driven. They want to make it big. They want to do something with this. Dame always wanted to have a collective, but he didn't have the right people to do it with.
Oh yeah.
So Monarchy was always an idea in his head. And then when we all worked together, and like we like a well-oiled machine, he was like, yes, I'm gonna do it now. So he put everything together. He built the studio. He has a whole bunch of artists now that like he works with, like unofficially, of course. But he's making his dream come true, and we're all a part of that. And I feel like that's like the coolest thing ever.
Well, yeah, and especially like seeing like guys that like or like you have like trust in, and also too like you believe in so much. It's cool to see them grow, but then also like just all of you guys together are growing as creatives and artists and stuff like that. And that's always a
Yes.
beautiful thing to watch, especially like from an outside perspective, like me, like getting to check out all your pages and like all that kind of stuff, and seeing like how hard you guys are working like just to make it. And I think that's dope. I
Mhm.
think what you guys are doing is awesome. Your guys' sound is crazy good. Like it's
Appreciate
awesome.
that. Yeah.
No, trust me, it's dope watching it happen. But like to go back a little bit, can you give me like a little more background about your life and stuff like that? Is there like any other interesting things I feel like I'm missing?
I mean, I've had a pretty interesting life, yeah, personally.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like, going into like who I am, I've always been a nerd, and like I never tried to like really hide it. I always like put it out there because, it like it's me. I don't like being the type of person that pretends to be someone I'm not. Because at the end of the day, you put on this facade that you're someone, and then like it comes just like it just falls apart somehow, some way, because it never ends well. So I've always been like it's funny. Okay, so the person I am right now is super extroverted, right? And I
Yeah.
love meeting new people. I love putting myself out there because as a musician, you kind of like can't be introverted because
Mhm.
you're like, for example, if you blow up, you're gonna perform in front of hundreds of thousands of people. You can't have stage fright and all that. But when I was younger, I was so scared of ever putting myself on display. And I think a part of that has to do with the fact that I was a very nerdy person and I used to get made fun of because of that.
Mhm.
So it made me feel like super sheltered. And I didn't really want to put myself out there. And it's funny because back in 2019, before the COVID pandemic happened,
Yeah.
I performed 9 shows that year.
Yeah.
And I had my family come out to some of the shows too, and after the show they came up to me and they're like, I would have never guessed that this kid who was too afraid to say hi to his own family members would be out here performing in front of hundreds of people, and like to know that I was that person and I was able to break out that shell to make this work makes me proud of my growth. So I guess it goes to show how like amazing young God Blow is because the person that he used to be was way different. Super character growth.
Yeah, dude, no, that's awesome to see. Like, I don't know. I think music does amazing things to people.
Mhm.
Like I've seen it with like plenty of friends, family and all that kind of stuff. Like simply just like playing a guitar for even some people like grows character development and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And you can definitely see that with like your story and stuff like that. I was gonna say, like with the shows and stuff like that, what was like the scariest part of like, was it like walking on stage or the fact that you had a show?
So, oh man. All right. It's funny because I tell people this all the time. I'm like, every single show I had that year, I was always nervous to perform, even though I was already used to it.
Hmm.
And it was like the nervousness lasted for like probably a half a second.
Hmm.
And because the shows I performed that were showcases, so like other artists were there to perform, so like everyone had their fan bases there, like what
Yeah.
little fan bases everyone had, because we were all small artists. And then when you get called onto the stage, in that split second that they would call on my name, I would like feel like my heart drop to like my balls,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's how I felt, like, and it's crazy because that nervousness slipped as soon as I stepped onto the stage. After that,
Yeah.
and I saw the crowd of people just looking up, like waiting, excited to hear me. It just made all that nervousness like fly out the window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was like at first, I was like worried, but I knew I had like great people in the crowd that were supporting me.
Mhm.
And then after the shows, I had even more great people support me. And like it felt good, like it made me excited. It gave me an adrenaline rush that I wanted it more.
Yeah.
And then we repeat the cycle of me being nervous, but I started getting more comfortable being on stage itself. And then my stage presence grew with each show. Like at first, my very first show, I was like rapping and I was just like bopping back and forth. And then the very last show I did that year, I was like back and forth on the stage, like just getting lit, like with the crowd, like the crowd control was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like that is kind of disappointing that everything happened last year with the pandemic, but it just makes me more excited for when we're able to put on shows again with like
Oh yeah.
large groups of people, and I can like do that again.
Yeah, hopefully it's by fall because, dude, I want to go see a concert so bad.
You and me
So
both.
bad, man. Like, take me somewhere. Let me listen to some live music for once. I'm
I
sick.
had like in May of last year I was supposed to go to Rolling Loud Miami with a whole bunch of friends, and then the pandemic happened like probably February.
Yeah,
So it was
damn.
like that's when we all thought like, yeah, it's probably gonna be away in like 2 weeks, but then like no, it was not away. It's gonna be like 2 years.
Yeah, you guys can't. Yeah, no chance. Rolling Loud
Yeah,
canceled forever.
it was like fuck all your plans. You're not gonna have any fun. And I mean, at
No.
least I got my money back, but still,
Yeah.
like I wanted to have memories.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes the money's worth it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll lose
Exactly.
that for, to go see a bunch of artists that I'm in love with and stuff like that. But no, dude, that's crazy. No, honestly, like, I love hearing about like people like getting into like live events and like you said, like showcases and stuff like that. Like, how did you get yourself into like that circumstance of like getting into that showcase or those showcases? I'm sorry.
So I did my research, like I was like, I want to perform, but I don't know exactly how to. Luckily, in New York, there's a lot of agencies that are able to like book shows for you under
Mhm.
certain conditions, which were easy to like get because they're like requirement, like, oh, make sure you sell a certain amount of tickets, and then you'll be good to perform. Which was easy for me because even though I didn't have a huge fan base, I had a lot of loyal, friends and family members, and other people who eventually, learned of who I was and wanted to hear my music. So like, I came across this agency called Major Stage, which they're kind of popular now. At the time, like they were like okay, they started in like 2007, but like in the span of the last 2 years, they gained a lot of popularity. So they helped me book a show. And then from there, I was like, I'm just keep on working with y'all. I just keep on selling the required tickets, and then I can keep on performing. The best show I've ever had with them was at this place called the Paper Box.
Okay.
Was like borderline Brooklyn, Queens. And that show, the attendance was probably like 300, 400 people. And
Wow.
that was
Yeah.
my biggest show considering like I was used to like performing for probably max 70 people in like a
Yeah.
place.
I was gonna say
And
300 to 400. That's a good
yeah,
show, man.
exactly. And it's funny because I knew that they were there for other artists, but I was like, while I'm on the stage, I'm gonna make sure that after today they're there for me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I put on one of the best shows in terms of energy and everything. And I felt like euphoria because I can't see anybody's face because it's dark as shit. But I just see like hundreds of like flashlights, just like this, just like watching me. And that just made me so happy. And like after the show, I mean, not after the show, after I performed, I was walking off the stage and literally people coming up to me, yo, what's your Instagram? Like, where can I listen to your music? Or patting me on the back or like, yo, you did great. Like, I love that. And I want to feel that more often.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, so like shout out to Major Stage for making that happen. Like I'm excited to be able to do shows again in the near future.
Like, as much as like we're a generation like built on like technology and like listening to music through like streaming services and stuff like that, nothing beats a live show. Like,
At all.
nothing will beat it. Nothing at all. Like, I've found like amazing artists like just from going to see live shows or like little
Hmm.
local shows and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just think it's a special experience, and especially you as like an artist, like you can tell how like happy it makes you to be able to like, number one, share your music with new people that haven't heard it like live, and then
Hmm.
also too, like, that's a whole experience for you too. Like, you're shouting your words out there for people.
Exactly.
I think that's awesome to hear about and your experience with it. But yeah, man, like, I don't know. I think your story is awesome. It sounds like you're on an amazing track to like be a great artist. Like, I can see that happening for you.
Yeah.
And also too, like watching your collective and like all that stuff. Like, you guys are all really talented people, and I'm really excited for you guys. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, like, to kind of like wrap this up a little bit,
Hmm.
what advice do you have for anyone that wants to make music or do something creative but is too scared to get off or like to get out of their shell? Because I know you talked about that
Hmm.
and stuff. So I was just curious, like, do you have any like tips or advice for anybody?
I probably have like the most basic advice, but it's also like the strongest. We only live one life. And the one thing I told myself when I started making music is I don't want to stop and regret it later on in the future. Like, let's say you have the ambition or the talent to do something, but you're too scared to put it into reality. Just remember that when you're older, you're probably not going to get the same opportunities as you do right now.
Yeah.
Because, regardless of what people may tell you, time is very precious. And even though you can make it big, like at the age of 18 or at the age of 37, the more time you have is better for you, because you'll be able to put your ideas or like your vision out there and be able to work on it more, you
Mhm.
know? So
Yeah.
like I feel like you never want to live life with regrets. And that's definitely something I live by, and it's helped me, push myself each day. I may get like a little like pessimistic and stuff about like where I'm going. So yeah, don't doubt yourself. Just put yourself out there and like live life to the fullest.
Hell yeah, man. No, that's great advice, honestly. So, young God blow. I really appreciate you being on this podcast, man. It was really a great time. Um, Tell the people, how can they how can they listen to your music? How can they follow you on stuff? Like, tell us all about that.
Yes, listen, I'm on everything at Young God Blow: Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, Amazon Music, everything. My music is everywhere. And Instagram, Young God Blow. Twitter, it's at Sir Blowius, because I made it a long ass time ago and I can't change it. But yeah, everything's pretty much Young God Blow. If you just search Young God Blow, you found me.
All right, awesome, man. Well, hey, I really appreciate you being on here. It's been amazing getting to talk to you, and I'm really excited to watch your career grow, man. I'm really excited to see all of it. Okay.
Appreciate that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Thumbs Up Podcast, and we're out. Peace. And that is the end of the episode with Young Godblow. It was an awesome conversation, getting to know him. Listening to his story of like how he started making music and kind of how he found himself within, the hemisphere of, making music and finding his own sound and realizing like it's okay to be like this. So I thought that was really dope and an awesome message. And, the guy's, like I said, he's making awesome music and he's a great up and coming artist. So definitely try to get hip to him, be early on the wave of Young Godblow. Great artist, great guy to talk to. But yeah, so please go support him. But also too, we're finally on Apple Podcast app. After some time of me trying to figure out like how to get on it and stuff like that, we're finally on there. So it would really help me out if you guys, the listeners, went on there and reviewed it. It gets my podcast out there a little bit more, maybe gets suggested to some people. It would mean a lot to me. But if you could as well, go support the podcast at Thumbs Up Pod on Instagram. And then also, too, go support me at Kyle.nice_ on Instagram. And also, too, shoot me a DM. Say, hey, what's up? Tell me how you feel about the podcast as well on there. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. And this was the wonderful, wonderful Thumbs Up Podcast. Peace.